Viewers, the Delhi Police Special Cell probe into news portal NewsClick has unearthed a very complex web of alleged transactions with Chinese entities and its reported global agents. CNN News18 has accessed the FIR, and on the face of it, the investigators claim that the Communist Party of China linked telecom companies have routed funds to NewsClick subsidiaries through shell companies. The FIR suggests that the money has been routed in exchange for favors. Now here's a quick look at how the money was pumped in. The FIR claims that the telecom majors like Xiaomi and Vivo, among others, and you can see it on your graphics, used a number of shell companies to pump crores of rupees into People's Dispatch portal, which is allegedly run by NewsClick. I'm not saying this, the police are saying this, viewers, in their FIR. Now, according to the FIR, the funds were used to support an organization called Legal Community Network, set up by the accused to defend, according to the police, Chinese telecom companies facing cases in Indian courts. That, they allege, is the quid pro quo. We'll fund you, you create great PR for us, and also, when it comes to it, fight our cases in Indian courts. Now remember, some of these companies, some of these telephone companies, telecom companies, call them what you want, viewers, are thought to be having backdoors, technological backdoors to the CCP and the deep state in China. I'm not saying this, the government has said this on numerous occasions, and that's why some of them were also forbidden from participating in the 5G auction. But this isn't all, viewers. The FIR also claims that Neville Singham, who has been described in the global press as a Chinese Communist Party agent living in Shanghai, used a number of shell companies to pump in crores into NewsClick. Let me show you that other funds flow now. That's Neville Singham right there on top. The funds flow chart, NewsClick, a CCP portal, that's the big question. At least that's what the entire establishment that is investigating NewsClick is claiming. It says that Worldwide Media Holdings, formed by Jason Fetcher, associate of Neville Singham, People's Support Foundation Director Jodie Evans, wife of Neville Singham, Justice and Education Fund, the G-Span LLC owned by Singham, and the Tricontinental Limited USA, including Centro Popular de Midas, Brazil, all were used to pump in money into NewsClick. NewsClick, the FIR says, is owned by Prabir Purkayastha and Gautam Navlakha, among others, who it claims, especially the latter, claims is involved in the Maoist movement and has links to Ghulam Nabi Fai, who was tried in the United States on charges of being an ISI agent and tried for espionage and other terror funding, and was convicted, viewers. The police also claim that the money was handed to NewsClick to misrepresent, very important, 6 accusations, misrepresent India's case on Arunachal and Kashmir. Secondly, to finance the farmers' protest that the police claimed caused great economic loss to India. That's not all. The FIR claims that the funds were used by NewsClick to spread disinformation about India's response to the COVID-19 crisis. You will remember those dark days, viewers, and all those press reports suggesting that we weren't on top of it. Of course, we emerged relatively better off than other first world countries. The FIR also says that NewsClick was funded to shake public confidence in the pharma industry and to sabotage the 2019 polls. All this, the investigators claim, is to undermine India's national security and therefore attracts the UAPA charge. Of course, viewers, and we must add a caveat here, very importantly, the investigators will have to convince the courts of the charges at a later date by tracing the fund flow back to Singham and Chinese telecom majors. More than that, they will also have to establish that the money was secreted away and used for the allegedly diabolic purposes that NewsClick is charged with by the investigators. The big question, of course, is whether Singham is a Chinese agent, as it is often claimed. Now, here's what a special investigation by the NYT discovered. It is important to note that the NYT report has not been challenged by Singham or even by the CCP. But let me just take you through what Neville Roy Singham and his CCP links, according to NYT investigation, throw up. Part of a lavishly funded campaign to defend China. That's what is being said about him. Also, viewers, works closely with Chinese media and finances propaganda, according to the NYT. Collaborations with Chinese universities for PSYOPs, again according to NYT, not according to our channel or viewers, me, the anchor here. Develops online content with Chinese propaganda department. Yes, online content with the Chinese propaganda department. Disseminates pro-China content in multiple languages. Regular at Chinese Communist Party forums. As of now, viewers, NewsClick lawyer Kapil Sibal has demanded that the courts quash the probe into his clients at NewsClick. He's given a bunch of reasons in court, and you see them on your screens. Viewers, one of the things that Mr. Kapil Sibal has told the court is that he believes that this entire investigation is arbitrary because no grounds for arrest have been given to any of the accused. That's what he claimed in court. Arrest is illegal and violates HC rules for access to counsel. He's saying he's not being given access to his own, the accused are not being given access to him. Remand order was passed without hearing any response. Supreme Court, he says, mandates supply of grounds for arrest. So all of this, he claimed today, of course, the grounds have been furnished by the investigators. Now, viewers, the court has, as of today, not granted any immediate relief to the accused. It made an observation saying that because of the gravity of the charges, they didn't think that it was at this moment in the interests of things to give these individuals bail. The matter will be heard in a few days. NewsClick's defense, Sibal's arguments, viewers, have therefore failed. At least in the interim. We don't know what is going to happen in the next few days. But even as the matter is sub judice and under investigation in the Congress party, there was a bit of a reaction. The Congress party began needling Prime Minister Modi. The Congress media self-chief tacitly began linking Prime Minister Modi to the Chinese Communist Party today. In his tweet, Mr. Ramesh asked his followers to ask themselves who is actually supported by China in the country. Jairam Ramesh's tweet reads, and let me take you through it. Mr. Modi has met Xi 20 times, including sitting on a jhula with him. Mr. Modi gave the Chinese a clean chit publicly on the issue of border transgressions on June 19, 2020. Mr. Modi allowed Prime Minister Cares Fund to take crores of donations from Chinese companies. Mr. Modi's BFF, sarcastically means best friend forever, has a Chinese national undertaking money laundering and round-tripping of funds. So who is really controlled by foreign powers? You get what the association is. The government's investigating agencies say that NewsClick is funded by China and does its bidding. So the Congress party, without naming the Prime Minister or NewsClick, comes out and says, well, you guess, the Prime Minister, PM Cares Fund was funded by China, so he must also be doing the bidding. Who is really controlled by foreign powers is a rhetorical question that has been posed in that tweet. Viewers, now here are some hard facts that suggest that even though some Chinese telecom majors may have poured funds into the PM Cares Fund, it didn't influence NDA's decision-making towards China. Let me pull those graphics out for you. These are the hard facts, viewers, and they're on your screens. In September 2023, just last month, India floats the IMEEC, the India Middle East European Corridor, to counter, viewers, to counter the BRI. Very important point, and it's there for all to see. August 2023, Modi raised concerns over border incursions during the BRICS summit in a meeting with Xi. Would he have done that? Had he been paid to keep his mouth shut? Had India been thinking of setting up a parallel to China's BRI, which is of course Xi's most important project? Chinese journalists have been repatriated by India in October 2022. Again in October 2022, India didn't back China and UNSC over the Uyghur issue. A vote was called, we abstained. India excludes Huawei and ZTE from 5G trials. If telecom majors were pouring money into PM Cares, would India be taking such a strident position against telecom majors? Because something is not adding up here. India attends first Quad summit to counter China on the global stage. Why would we do it? If Modi was being funded by China, so to speak, his fund, as the Congress have said in the past, then why would he be taking on the Chinese. India bans hundreds of Chinese apps. That happened in June 2020 after Galwan. In April 2020, India mandates the government clearance for Chinese investments. No Chinese investment can be made in this country without government clearance. And viewers, let me tell you, over the years, our leading trade partner no longer is China. It used to be for 5 years. It's today the United States of America. In fact, businesses in China are now coming to India to invest. So we need to ask certain questions. Who is trivializing this national security concern, and why are they trivializing it? Why is the opposition doing so? Let's open this up, viewers, and let me begin first with the Congress Party representative here, person who speaks for the Congress Party. We also have Sushant Sareen, we have Sanju Verma, the national spokesperson of the BJP, we have the redoubtable General Bakshi with us, we have Ashutosh Verma of the Samajwadi Party, if I'm not mistaken. Good evening, sir. Let me first begin with you, Mr. Sanjay Jha. It's one thing to question Modi government on the crackdown, quite another to trivialize the probe itself by taking a barely disguised jibe at the Prime Minister for being close to Xi. Now I want to ask you, isn't that just an attempt at politicizing the probe and trivializing the objective, which is to defend India's sovereignty, sir? It's a fundamental question to you.
Rahul, good evening. I mean, there are a couple of very serious points that we need to discuss here, because when any press entity is actually being targeted and, called anti-national or accused of sedition, then I think it's something that as citizens of a democracy that we still hopefully are, I think we have a right to ask some very tough questions. And I want to just call a spade a spade. Number one, India is under an undeclared emergency. And I was reading the Editors Guild of India. I have been reading about the various statements made by senior journalists, part of, press associations, who have actually told the Chief Justice of India to intervene. Nobody would do that if, they all felt that this was something that was happening in the regular process of law. Here are a couple of questions that I have, over and above what Jairam Ramesh has probably asked. There is a gentleman, by the way, called Chang Chung Ling, who's got a very dubious credentials and has a past record that is violating certain, very norms of Indian governance, who's a big player in the Adani group. And I'm surprised that here, Mr. Modi's government is going after NewsClick, but there is no action or no investigation happening on this Chinese investor. I mean, this is something that you cannot ignore. Point number two, PM cares. You made a mention that, there is no quid pro quo. But hang on. If you can't, if the source for the goose is source for the gander. If the Chinese investors or whoever in NewsClick are a big problem, then by that logic, I believe anyone from China dealing with a PM cares, this is under Narendra Modi's tutelage, is like really a serious contradiction.
Okay.
Point number three, Rahul, isn't it odd that Narendra Modi goes to town talking about urban naxals in his election speeches? I want to ask Mr. Modi through your channel, who does he mean? What is the definition of urban naxal? Mr. Modi keeps saying this again and again and again. And I am clueless. I read a lot of politics. I'm part of the entire...
Okay, so you've asked these three questions. Let's take them up one by one. Okay, let's answer them one by one. Let me just point out a few facts to you, sir. You brought up some individual called Chong Chuing Lee or whatever. I don't know who this individual is. He has ties with the Adani group. Does the Congress Party do any business with the Adani group, sir?
Well, it's got nothing to do with the Congress Party or any other
it's got nothing to do with the Congress Party. Now, hang on. No, one second. Why are you incentivizing... Excuse me. I'm asking you a question, Sanjay Jha. We're not going to speak over each other. Why then are you incentivizing, since you're so concerned about Modi's ties with Xi, why is the Congress Party giving business to Adani if he is controlled, if he's a puppet, so to speak, as you claim, of China? Whose side are you on? Are you enriching China? Is the Congress Party enriching China by doing this?
Oh, Rahul, let me tell you, Mr. Adani's astronomical growth has happened.
Sir, I only asked you a simple, straightforward question. Forget about the astronomical growth, sir. Mr. Ambani also made great amounts of strides and progress. A lot of businessmen have done fantastically well overnight. It doesn't mean they're corrupt. Please, we have, tech billionaires that have come up. Please, sir. Please, let's be reasonable here. Don't go after businessmen. Don't go after businessmen they create jobs, they create opportunities in this country. If you have a particular point, it can't be that you said what goes for the goose must go for the gander. Well, then why is the Congress doing business with Mr. Adani if he's such a character?
I'm answering you.
Well, that's one fundamental. It's just a point.
No,
you don't need to. You don't need to. 1 second. The second question.
Adani's links with Modi.
Okay,
and
Mr.
This
Jha.
can't be a debate by the Congress.
Mr. Jha, 1
alone.
second, please.
Has been
I beg you, sir. I beg you, sir. You brought up 3 points. I'm just presenting the facts there, and I'll want to bring in Sanju Verma and the others. You said PM Cares is funded by. I said yes, it is. There have been funds that have come from Chinese companies into PM Cares. But has that influenced Mr. Modi's attitude towards China?
How do we know?
Today,
do we know?
because, sir,
How
the
do we
proof
know?
is
How
there.
do I
The
know?
Chinese companies, Chinese
1 minute.
journalists, China
Why
itself.
is Mr. Modi's government quiet on territorial sovereignty?
Where
and
is
the
he
violations
quiet
that
on
are
it?
happening
He's
at the
taken it
border?
up with Mr. Xi in the last meeting. He said, I'm very concerned about what you're doing. Every day the MEA, every day Jaishankar comes out and says the most problematic relationship we have is with China because they have come out and they have basically tried to meddle in our internal affairs. They are trying to
Rahul, Mr.
stop the
Modi gave
equilibrium.
the Chinese a
Please,
clean
sir.
chit on Galwan Valley.
Sanjay Jha,
He
please
said
come
that
with
they
facts.
entered Galwan Valley.
I only request you, sir. I beg you.
come on,
I
that
beg
was
you.
giving a clean
I am being very
and
responsible
absolute
here.
clean sheet to the Chinese.
Sir, I am
You
being
both exploited that
I am being very
internationally.
responsible here by putting out certain facts. Contradict me on the facts. Don't contradict me on rhetoric. I'm not going to go down the rhetoric chute with you. You're a master at rhetoric. I'm a master at facts. I've given you facts.
I'm a master of facts.
And
Rahul,
let me
can
tell
you
you,
tell me
facts
why
have
is the
fans.
trade volume with China
Okay,
at
number three.
$140 billion? Tell
number
me why
three,
is the trade
number
volume
three.
with China at $140
Number
billion?
3,
I
urban
want to
naxals.
answer.
You said, what are urban naxals? Ask Mr. Chidambaram. He will show you an affidavit that the UPA filed in the Supreme Court describing that term, urban naxals. It is not Modi's coinage. It is the UPA's coinage. It is Mr. Chidambaram's coinage. And ask Dr. Manmohan Singh who he described as India's threat number 1. Who was that person? Who was it?
Excuse me, are you
It
trying
was
to
the
tell
urban
me-
naxals. Please, sir,
Are you
go
trying
back
to
to your
tell
facts.
me-
Go. No, please. I'm not trying to tell you anything. I'm just put out the facts. I want to bring in Sanju Verma. She's going to respond to you. Congress versus BJP tonight. Viewers, Sanju Verma, respond.
Rahul, there is a famous, quote. If you repeat a lie 1,000 times, it is often perceived to be the truth. But at least on Rahul Shivshankar's show, where the hard facts always win, and especially with me, who does her homework very thoroughly, being on the show, I will not allow the suspended Congress leader to get away by spewing absolute gibberish on your show. And I'll tell you why. Very quickly, first, let me address this Adani bogey, which seems to be cropping up every now and then. I've said this on umpteen occasions, and I will repeat for the benefit of your viewers. Out of the 7 publicly listed Adani companies, 5 got publicly listed during the Congress dispensations. Only 2 got listed during BJP-led dispensations, one during Vajpayee's tenure and one during Narendra Modi's tenure. Point number 2, the trade deficit with China during Atal Bihari Vajpayee's tenure was $1.34 billion. The trade deficit ballooned to $38 billion in 2014 by the time UPA was ousted and the BJP came to power, which means in the 10 years of Congress-led UPA from 2004 to 2014, the trade deficit with China ballooned by 2,614%. Now, between 2014 and 2023, the average trade deficit with China is $73 billion, which means that in the last 9 years of Narendra Modi's dispensation, the trade deficit has risen by only 92%. Point number 3, the famous Darbuk Shayad Daulat Beg Oldie Road, the DSBDO road, was started under Atal Bihari Vajpayee's tenure in 2003. I want to ask the Congress, what was the political compulsion? किसको खुश करने के लिए The moment the Congress came to power in 2004, they stopped the construction of the DS-BDO road, which is so important because it is a 255-kilometer long road, very close to the line of actual control. Who completed the DS-BDO road construction? It was the Modi government. Can I finish? You called me, for a show where I waited for 15 minutes, and the moment I started
Sanjay
speaking,
Jha, I gave you plenty of
wait.
time, sir. Please, you'll appreciate that. You made 3 large substantive points. I gave
And
you all
it's
that time.
over
Don't
15
interrupt,
minutes.
please.
I'm not done though. I have a laundry list of things to talk about the government.
This is
we'll come
unfair.
back to you.
I don't want to be the
Let somebody else.
This is the way it's going to
Sanjay
go.
Jha, please, I'm not going to have a quarrelsome show, please. I have no appetite for that. If you guys do, take your business somewhere else, please. It's not fair.
Thank you.
Yeah, just make your
Can
points.
I finish?
Yeah, finish.
Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Verma.
So I've told you that, and most importantly, Adani Ports was renamed as Mundra Ports when Congress was in power. And let me tell you that the first special economic zone of Adani came up in 2006 when the Congress was in power. And let me tell you that out of the 15,900 hectares which Adani acquired for the Mundra Port, 77% was acquired during successive Congress regimes.
Okay.
So don't sit here and give me a bhashan on Adani, not to mention that 70,000 crore worth of thermal and solar power projects in Rajasthan belonging to Adani
so let
are
me
coming
ask.
up.
Let me ask the fundamental question
point,
tonight.
One last point.
Quickly.
In Chhattisgarh, in a tribal dominated area, Adani has been given blanket permission to mine coal by Bhupesh Baghel, your Congress Chief Minister of Chhattisgarh. पहले उनसे सवाल पूछो, बाद में नरेंद्र मोदी को
Okay, I
भाषण
think
देना।
that part, look, I don't want to go down this. 1 second, gentlemen, no, 1 second, viewers, 1 second. Listen, Sanjay Jha, don't divert, please. Let's come back. I don't want to go down the Adani rabbit hole here. That is not what the debate is about. You have done enough business. The Congress has done enough business ever since Mr. Adani floated his companies with him, continues to do business now. It's an established fact. No one needs to sort of make a song and dance about it. It is what it is. You use these issues politically to muddy the waters. We are on the NewsClick probe and an attempt to trivialize a security concern. That's worrying. Let the probe play out. What's the problem? If the probe is going to fall flat, I mean, look at the Supreme Court. It's got a very strong backbone. It has pulled up the government in Manish Sisodia's matter just yesterday, the Enforcement Directorate to be specific. And it has asked questions. So if this NewsClick probe is based on zero evidence, the courts will throw it out. Let me tell you, viewers, we are not a banana republic, as much as someone once told us we were. We're not. I just want to open this up. General G.D. Bakshi, for a moment, let's go back to the situation at hand. We are being told today, when a bunch of people, rightly or wrongly, are facing grave charges of undermining the national security, that we must look at the Prime Minister's ties with China, the money that comes in to the PM Cares Fund a few years ago, and that might be, in some ways or the other, working to influence the way we are approaching, or this government is approaching, China. And I want to ask you, sir, General Bakshi, you're a proud patriot. I want to ask you, has India's response to China been compromised by any of the investments that the Chinese have made in this country? By any economic arrangement with the Chinese? Simple.
Thank you, Rahul, for giving me this opportunity, and it's good to see you back.
Thank you, sir.
Now, what I would like to point out is, let's not, as you very rightly said, take the threat of Chinese cognitive warfare lightly. Please do not do that, because the Chinese are expending billions of dollars in trying to shape the narratives in the countries of target interest. And that very much includes India. They're doing it in the United States itself. They're doing it in Japan. They're doing it in Europe. And they're doing it in a major way in India. So we have to be very alert to the Chinese cognitive warfare techniques and tactics. A part of it is based upon funding. A larger part of it is based upon the technical expertise and TikTok, etc. From there, they glean the information about individual targets, including, the your iris which also features in all your photographs that you so proudly plant on TikTok. They glean a whole host of data which is then used for manipulative effect to try and shape the narrative. For instance, about what was happening in Manipur. A massive effort has been done, put in to shape the narrative here. And the government is rightly concerned. I am aware that the government is trying to find countermeasures, and as are the Americans. The Americans say their elections are being influenced by the Russians, by the Chinese, by this cognitive warfare techniques. So let's not make light of these techniques because they are a fact of life. Apropos the issue of the two governments, a comparative approach, a very objective comparative approach to the Chinese threat. The simple fact is that for years, I was in the military operations directorate. We kept on begging for the creation of infrastructure on the Himalayan border. And we were told, which ministry will deal with it, who will deal with it. There was this constant passing of buck. When we did get some things through, we were told of environmental concerns. And, there was that preposterous suggestion that if we build infrastructure on the Himalayan border, the Chinese will use it to come to us. The simple fact is that, as the Israelis used to say, that the road that leads from Damascus to Tel Aviv also leads from Tel Aviv to Damascus. When this present government came, we have found an energetic drive to create that infrastructure which should have been done about 3 decades back, if not earlier.
No doubt. And if the government was receiving underhand money from China, that would not have been the case. We would not be presenting such a combative face to the Chinese. We would be looking the other way and taking the slap on the other cheek. That stands to reason. I think General Bakshi has elucidated on that. I want to bring in the Samajwadi spokesperson here, Ashutosh Verma ji. Mr. Verma, thank you very much for joining me. It's a very simple question. Should the probe into the team that works at NewsClick be allowed to take center stage, or should politics be allowed to muddy the waters? It's a very simple question to you, sir, especially when we know that foreign governments can exercise influence through media many different ways. We've seen a whole election cycle in America being influenced. I'm not saying it, the president of that country said it, by the Russians. In Canada, you have a Chinese preponderance, allegedly, on the way the narrative is being shaped around Trudeau. There are several such examples, sir. We have seen an election in the Maldives where the former president was ejected, lost the election, and the new one comes in and says that I'm going to boot out India because we love China. We've seen Pakistan being completely suborned by China on our own border. We are seeing other governments in the subcontinent under Chinese sway and influence, and we see the manner in which the media talks up the Chinese prospects. So can't this probe just go on and let it be as it is and let the investigators find what they want to? Why are we politicizing it? Do you think the Congress did the right thing today?
So, Rahul, first of all, I want to thank you that I appreciate your point that there is a Supreme Court in our country. It's not a banana republic.
Exactly.
And what Supreme Court has given a remark regarding the Manish Sisodia statement is the remark which has to be discussed everywhere.
Exactly.
Then I do appreciate what Major Bakshi has said, that beware of this Chinese warfare technique, the cognitive warfare technique. And that's what Mulayam Singh Yadav Ji, when he was a defense minister, he told in the parliament, our true enemy is China, is not the Pakistan we are concerning in. I do agree. But the question is here, is China has been declared an enemy state? If yes, then when? And if no, then why we are discussing on all these things? There are n number of companies in India, Big Basket, Daily Hand, Paytm, Ola, Baiju, Flipkart. They are all getting funding from the Chinese company. What is Indian government doing on them? And you also mentioned that PM Care Fund had also taken a fund from TikTok, Xiaomi, Huawei, and OnePlus. Then is this a problem only with NewsClick, a news agency, or is there a ploy from the Bharatiya Janata Party just to swap the news which has been initiated from Bihar 2 days back on the caste census? You see, back to back, there are three main breaking news coming from the mainstream media after the caste census has been revealed in the Bihar. What do you see? The day one news clicks, all the journalists has been interrogated, and the journalist who is the director of NewsClick has been also been interrogated in 1975 during the emergency also. It's nothing new for him. He given a statement. Then again, what Sanjay Singh and Aam Aadmi Party is doing. So these are the breaking news which are given by the Bharatiya Janata Party to submerge the news which is coming from the Bihar about the caste census, which is going to be a big question. It is going to be no, it's not ridiculous, Sanjuji.
No,
it's a very big and
Ms.
big
Verma
point
to respond to Mr. Verma. 1 second. Ms. Verma, one second, gentlemen. Ladies, please, let's not go at each other. Ms. Verma will now respond to Mr. Verma. Okay, let's, Ms. Verma, respond to him. He says, what's the big deal? NewsClick gets Chinese money. If the government gets it, what's the big deal? I mean, why are we, and there are so many businesses that are funded by Chinese money. Why are we getting ourselves into a twist? It's only because you want to distract attention. Can you respond to him on that point?
I just have this to say that first and foremost, please don't conflate and confuse government with private businesses. Point number one. Point number two, the problem with NewsClick, unlike say a Paytm or any of the other companies like Big Basket, etc., that you've mentioned, is the fact that NewsClick used the money derived from Neville Roy Singham, who in turn derived his funding from the CCP.
Allegedly.
Shares offices worldwide. Yes, let me finish, Rahul.
No, allegedly. I'm just being careful because I don't want to get sued. You know, you're immune to all of this. We are not. So I just want to say allegedly, and I think we should use that word.
I don't think, you know, when the Congress and the Samajwadi Party were spewing a lot of trash on your show, I did not see you, intervening or interjecting even once. Not everything that they spoke is the gospel truth. So please don't interject me. Let me finish. Then you can, rebut me. Because, I'm not here to take trash from the opposition. Let's be very clear about it. Let me repeat. Don't conflate.
Yeah, go ahead, Sanju Verma. Go ahead, please.
Don't conflate government with a private entity. That's my point number one. My point number two, and the biggest example of how Narendra Modi has actually, turned the tables on China. And this is something, if you just go down the archives, you will realize in 1980, in 1990, as recently as 2010, the Congress government repeatedly tried to bring semiconductor giants into India, but it never fructified. And today, when China has a market share of more than 40% in the global semiconductor industry, just after the US visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, his first state visit to the US, who is investing in Gujarat? Semiconductor giant Micron is investing. Narendra Modi has done what you guys could not do. I want to give you another example because I don't believe in rhetoric. The first Apple Macintosh, let me finish. The first Apple Macintosh, Rahul, can I just take 20 seconds?
Yeah, please. I haven't stopped you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, the first Apple Macintosh, it started selling in India way back in 1986. After that, till date, it was as recently as 2023 that Apple opened its first full-fledged outlet in Bandra in Mumbai and at Saket in Delhi, and today our overall software exports are $25 billion, of which electronic exports are $12 billion, of which Apple's exports out of India are $7 to $8 billion. And who's losing from this? Who's losing from this? Can I finish?
Let her finish. She's getting to it. Let her finish. Please let me moderate this discussion. Please.
I will tell you how. I will tell you how it is. I will tell you how. You don't advise me. You're not my advisor. मेरे को जो बोलना मैं बोलूँगी. आप चुप रहिए और सुनिए क्योंकि अभी सुनने की बारी आपकी है, बोलने की नहीं. How it is relevant? Micron semiconductor industry, till now China has had a stranglehold. Now we are breaking into that stranglehold.
Okay.
Apple, one of the world's biggest companies with a $3 trillion market capitalization, almost 80% of Apple's products were not just assembled, manufactured in China. And now, due to the Modi government's PLI policy, they say that in the next 5 years, 40% of Apple's products will not just be assembled, but made in India.
I mentioned that point.
The China link is there.
I mentioned that point.
Don't talk rubbish on this
I mentioned that point. The point is, viewers, that look, certain people are not going to hear it. I can mention a lot of things or a lot of hard facts, but they will not hear it because it doesn't suit them. And I just want to point out some hard facts to you, viewers. This is Department of Commerce. These are figures put out by them, not Rahul Shivshankar. Please check them. You can Google for them. India's top trade partners. In 2009,
for another show.
yes, ma'am, one second. We still have 3 more minutes, ma'am, please. Just 3 more minutes, please. Indulge me. 2009 to 10, UAE. 2010 to 11, UAE. 2011 to 12, China. 2013 to 14, China. 2014 to 15, China. 2015 to 16, China. 16 to 17, China. 17 to 18, China. Suddenly, viewers, it's all United States, United States, United States. If we were so obliged, if Modi was so obliged to China, why wouldn't he have continued India's arrangement in trade to privilege China? No one is answering that question. You see, viewers, no, 1 second, 1 second. 1 second, sir, please.
I have some hard facts.
1 second, Sanjay Jha, you always promise the hard facts, but you always give us the hard rhetoric and me a hard time. So just give me 30 seconds, please. 1 second. Let me go to Mr. Ashutosh Verma ji.
161 on 180 World Press Freedom Index.
It doesn't matter, sir. Have you seen what is happening? Have you seen what is happening today in Bengal? Have you seen what has happened today in Telangana? No, 1 second. Why are you not talking about the 20 or 15 journalists that the Congress blacklisted? Answer me, Sanjay Jha.
I'm talking about...
Answer me. 15 journalists blacklisted by the Congress party. Why, sir? Answer me this question. Was that the right thing? Was it the right thing?
Tell me, can you...
I'm asking you, are you doing favors to India's press freedom ranking? No, please answer me this question. I'm asking you, 15 journalists blacklisted by the Congress party, was that the right thing to do? Yes, no.
Listen, Rahul,
are you serving press freedom?
I'm sorry.
What is a whataboutery? You are saying India is sliding down the press freedom index?
India is ranked at 161 on 180.
I have told you, viewers, hard facts count on this show. Only the hard facts speak on this show. I asked the Congress party, you are concerned about press freedoms. Then why did the Congress party, a vital element of India's polity, blacklist 15 journalists? There are people in the Congress party, viewers. There are people in the alliance. 1 second, please. In the India bloc. Please, allow me, sir. Please, don't keep hectoring me.
India alliance took
Sanjay Jha, please. Nitish Kumar came out and said that it was a wrong move. He wouldn't have done it. Why? Why did he say that? He said it's not in the interests of press freedoms, which you are today concerned about. You talked about the Adani link to China. You do business with Adani. These are the hard facts. You can't always be sitting on double standards. Sorry, General Bakshi, I want to bring you in 1 second, and I also want to bring in. Mr. Verma, Ashutosh Verma also. Now, Mr. Ashutosh Verma, I remember distinctly a story doing the rounds about how our vaccine, our COVID vaccine, the shot of life that we gave not just to ourselves but to the entire world, viewers, was adulterated with certain animal fats. Now this came out, viewers, on certain websites, this story. And it was Mr. Akhilesh Yadav who picked it up. He also went out to say that ye to BJP ki vaccine hai. Now, viewers, think about this, and I want to bring in Mr. Ashutosh Verma on this. Mr. Ashutosh Verma, things that were picked up, unverified, spoken by political leaders, that is the damaging impact of media that dances to someone else's tune.
Okay.
You were a victim of it, so why shouldn't we be concerned about that?
Let me come to the point, NewsClick, and about the China. If you want to discuss about the vaccine, we have a full episode, and I can explain everything. I'm a doctor. I can explain everything what is happened in last 2.5 years back. Forget about that. Come to the China, and I want to give a hard facts here. So there is one block development chairman from the ruling party, definitely supported by Bharatiya Janata Party, in the southern part of Ladakh, Mr. Argen Chandan, who has reportedly given his statement on 28th January 2022 that PLA troops which has came to our side and they thrown out our grazing animals. They have confirmed news by him. On 5th September 2022, the Rajnath Singh, who is our minister, who
Yes.
gone to SEO meeting in the Moscow. He met with the China minister and have a 2.5 hour discussion on the LAC.
Yeah.
Then on 11th September 2020, Russia, India and China trilateral talks was happening, and in
So what's the
foreign
point?
minister of the China and so in last 3 years, 18 border talks has been
Yes.
taken, and the Indian government is saying कोई 1 इंच अंदर नहीं आया और कोई 1 इंच बाहर नहीं गया. The day the Prime
One
Minister
second,
said,
Mr. Verma, the context is no. You're confusing the context. We've got an army personnel. He'll respond to you, not me. Please.
Definitely. Let me complete. And
I have
then
2 minutes on the show, sir.
Okay.
You can count
Then,
me down on those 2 minutes.
Is it not right? It is not right that on.
Okay,
Ministry
so
of
you're saying
External
that
Affairs
Chinese
has
came
given
into
an
our
official
territory, right?
statement.
You've mentioned that point. Let me bring
I'm
in
not,
General Bakshi.
I'm not mentioning that.
So what's the
I'm
point?
Not mentioning.
Get to the point.
The point is there is a controversial statement between the Prime Minister and Bharatiya Janata Party leaders and the ministry.
Okay. So
And
you want me
India
to
is
get a
totally-
response
totally
to
in
you?
the doubt
So
what is
allow me,
happening.
Mr. Verma.
Is it not saying that
Allow me, Mr. Verma.
about 65 patrolling parties,
Okay.
India is not only doing patrolling on only 26.
Okay.
The buffer zone has been made in Indian border.
Let me come in
then
now.
why Bharatiya Janata Party spokesperson, Bharatiya Janata Party's leaders are not telling the truth?
Okay.
And if they are
Let me
afraid
just
of
come in now.
telling the-
Okay, Mr.
why
Verma, you had your say.
Yes,
Let me come in.
yes.
Viewers,
Why Mr.
constantly Indian troops cross the LAC into Chinese land,
That is
and they also cross into our land. It is a porous border. It has been a porous border since the day we all became independent nations. The LAC is not defined. It's a known fact. The point is whether they stay on Indian land and capture it. That has not happened, viewers, barring a few exceptions when they've had to vacate their positions. General Bakshi, could you just set the record straight? I have 1 minute for you to do that.
Yes, apropos the issue of whether the Indian response to the Chinese aggression in the COVID period has been adequate or not, I think the response has been very robust. There are 2 additional divisions there now and a strike corps. We match the Chinese man for man, tank for tank, gun for gun. Mirror image their deployment and have exceeded it by far. When there was a physical clash, we gave it back as good. And the number of casualties that we have inflicted, is about 45 as per the CIA and even more as per Chinese media reports.
The trouble is,
over
viewers,
100.
the trouble
Chinese,
is what
worries
what worries me is not so much right now where this case is headed. What worries me is that there is such a robust defense of the very proposition, very thought that the Chinese might actually be interdicting our democracy. Can you imagine this, viewers? I would have thought that all political participants today would have said, yes, we should at least investigate it. It may be wrong, but let at least be investigated. Let's get out the facts. Viewers, whether it is China or Canada, India is hitting back. The next, on Canada, Canada blinks on diplomats. Has Bharat won a famous moral victory? We come back to that. Don't go away.